Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to our lay evangelist formation session on evangelistic preaching and testimony. And what I want to do now is to demonstrate to you the way that we can use an interview process to help a person share their faith story, maybe in the context of some sort of a public event. And Marcy and I live in the same house, so it was really easy for me to interview her. That wouldn't involve using Zoom or something like that. But I should say that although she and I have been married to each other for a very long time, we've actually never done this before, so it does feel a little bit weird. However, we'll muddle through as best we can. So this is Marcy. We've been married to each other for 41 years, I think.
41.
Yeah. Yes. Plus
42 later this year. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So just to get this process going, tell us a couple of things about yourself that you'd like the folks to know.
Okay. I'm originally from further east in the country. Grew up in Ontario, Southern Ontario. Met Tim when I was about 20, I guess, 19, 20. And we married probably a year and a half after we'd met. Moved west to Saskatchewan. From there to the Arctic, and from the Arctic to Alberta, which is how we eventually landed where we are now. I am the mother of 4 children and 2 grandchildren. Have grandmother to 2 grandchildren, and over time have worked outside the home at various little things, but spent the majority of my time focusing on family and since ceasing any other work outside the home, volunteer work until very recently, when everything sort of became a little more complicated. But I enjoy reading, I enjoy the outdoors, I enjoy living a fairly simple life.
Right. So we've explained to our evangelists 2 different ways that a person might tell the story of their faith journey in 3 chapters. In one way, which we might call the darkness to light conversion story, there's chapter 1, my life before Christ; chapter 2, how Christ became real to me; chapter 3, what difference Christ is making in my life. So, and then the other one is a more sort of gradual, sort of raised in the household of faith sort of approach. So chapter 1 would be, Christian influences on my early life. Chapter 2 would be how that became my faith, how it became personal for me. And then again, chapter 3, what difference it's making to me to be a Christian today. Right. So which of those is closer to your story, do you think?
The second.
The second, right. Yeah. Okay. So Christianity, part of the background of your life while you were growing up. Can you tell us a little bit about what form that took?
I guess my first memory would be things like prayers with my mum, bedtime prayers, other times of just reading and sharing together. I remember Sunday school, not from an extremely young age, but fairly young. I was actually baptized in a non-denominational chapel on an Air Force base. Later, because of where we lived, there was an Anglican church in close proximity, so I was there for a while. I think at some point during that time, I began going to a JA group, a junior auxiliary group, where the pastor of the church at that time was really good at teaching us what was important, teaching us to care for people outside our own group. We were exposed to individuals with disabilities and from various backgrounds, to different cultures and needs around the world. And we focused on learning about all these people and places and what we as followers of Jesus could best do to help them, even though we were children at the time.
So were you always aware of like a personal connection, sense of connection with Christ? and or was there a time when that became like more real to you?
I think I always felt a connection. Well, I know I always felt a connection. It was more of an instinctual connection, though not an educated connection. I guess that came later, getting a little older, going towards teen years, starting to ask questions and wanting to understand better what it meant to have that faith, what was in scriptures. Sunday school at that time basically focused around children's stories. And I didn't particularly always find it helpful. So at one point I made a decision. I'd been away from the Anglican Church for a short while. We'd moved not far, but there was a United Church a little closer. Went there for a short period of time, but realized at a very young age that I missed some of the connection in terms of community and prayer. The prayer was different. In the Anglican Church I'd gone to for many years, the prayer focus was not just on individual communities. It was on a worldwide outlook, I guess, and there seemed to be just an extra dimension there that I felt I was missing, and I decided I wanted to return there. I was probably about 12. After I went back, I inquired about communion and was told that I should be confirmed before then. So I decided to join a class and see what I thought about the instruction there. New pastor by that time, very, very helpful. And I eventually was confirmed and stayed in that church until I went away to post-secondary. And even then kept up correspondence with questions that I had, and returned whenever I was visiting home. Would return to the church family again. I think during that time it all became more real. I can't pick a specific point, but I know it made a difference to me in my life. I didn't think about it being especially noticeable to anyone else until a friend, when I was about 12, gave me a birthday gift at school one year, and it was a rosary. And I knew what rosaries were. Some members of the family are Roman Catholic, and I thanked her and said I had never used one personally, but I would learn more about it. And she said, well, I wasn't quite sure what to get, but I knew something told me that you're religious or you have a Christian faith, and I thought maybe this would mean something to you.
Interesting.
And so it was just that knowledge that my life in some way displayed my faith, even if it wasn't an actively evangelical let me tell you about Jesus and about his work in my life sort of thing. And that made me want even more to understand the history and what was behind the Christian faith. And
yeah, that's really helpful, because I think it sets a sort of gives an example of how that can be sort of a thing that kind of evolves in a sort of a not very perceptible way. Really, you sort of know it's there, but it's hard to just describe sort of, okay, how did that sort of happen? So how has being a follower of Jesus made a difference in your life? Can you maybe identify one or two or three specific ways in which it's made a difference for you?
Well, I met you because of one of the differences.
Oh, well, that's right. Yes, I guess. Yeah. Hopefully that was positive.
I thought I really wanted to be
able
at some point, yes, to think that I would share my life with someone who would share my faith. I know that's not always the case, but I thought that would be important to me in some way, or at least someone I could talk to about it. So when you came to work in the community, you and another friend, Dana, for the summer, and then you stayed on for a year, it made a difference to me that I could be with someone who I could talk to openly about my faith, who understood. And so, yeah, in that way, it led me to you. It made a difference in choices through life, actions, I guess. The way I viewed the world or other people, running across frustrations in terms of relationships, meant taking time to pray about that rather than getting upset and reacting out of frustration. To if there was a relationship that was difficult, to pray for that person and to pray about that, and almost invariably the relationship became a much more positive one. Yeah, things like that.
What would you say, in your experience, has been the hardest part of being a follower of Jesus?
I think probably preconceived ideas from some people who view Christianity as a pompous group teaching that means that followers somehow think themselves better than anyone else. That the pushiness. I like sharing, being able to share your faith is a wonderful thing, but there are those who assume that there's a pushiness of some kind that is intrudes on their lives, or would look at them as being terrible and in need of fixing or being set right somehow.
So what you're talking about is being stereotyped into a particular cultural image of what it means to be Christian, which doesn't fit what you actually feel being a Christian is all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Much better put. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I find difficult.
Okay. Yeah. So conversely, what would you say is the most rewarding part of being a follower of Jesus for you?
Well, for one, the difficult part becomes an opportunity to explain why I don't see things the same way. But it's more the personal relationship and a sort of a peace that goes with that. So knowing that I'm not alone in any given situation, knowing that as well as being able to turn to God in prayer, I also have a family, a Christian family, who pray for each other. We all pray for each other and support each other, and also encourage each other and sometimes challenge each other.
When you're talking about a Christian family there, you're not talking about a biological family, you're talking about a church family.
Yeah.
So finally, why would you recommend Jesus to someone today?
Well, I think again, just knowing that if Christianity is real, if it's true, and this is accessible to you, to have a personal relationship with a God who created everything, with a God who loves you and wants you to be the best you can be, and to help others to the best of your ability. And just there's this knowledge that the world could be a better place, and it's so obvious that I could be a better person, and it's so obvious that there are many people and places in need, and that's so obvious that knowing we can have a relationship with the one who can make a difference, makes all the difference. It's not a set of rules to follow. It's knowing that you have someone there who can help you to make a real difference. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.